Ghetto.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. So, the Sega Mega Drive, a console that I certainly don't overlook as a collector. I love collecting those plastic cases. I love the blue spine games. I love the fact that I'm still to this day discovering hidden gems in and amongst its vast library. And also I don't overlook the Mega Drive as a gamer. Of all the retro consoles that I play and collect for, the Mega Drive is probably one that I've played the most in 2023. And there's a lot of Mega Drive games still high up on my backlog waiting to be played, hopefully, this year. However, I do think I've overlooked the Mega Drive as a content creator. I think with me focusing so much on the Super Nintendo and going for that full set, that maybe I haven't given enough airtime to the Sega Mega Drive. Well, we're going to change all that today. On this video, not only am I going to go through every single Mega Drive game in my collection, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the ones that I've played and the ones that I intend to play. But I'm also going to go through every single game and calculate exactly how much CEX would give me in terms of vouchers, cash, and how much, crucially, they would sell all those games for, i.e. how much profit they would make on me should I trade them all in. Without further ado, let's take a look at all these games. Okay, sadly I don't have a Mega Drive table, so we're going to have to make do with the Super Nintendo table. There's no real order to these guys except for the sort of spine work. So we're going to start off with the EA Sports yellow spines, then we're going to move on to the blue spine Mega Drive games before finishing with what is obviously the largest part of my collection, the standard black spine Mega Drive games. So, as I say, if there's not much to say about them, I'm going to fly through them. There won't be a lot to say about a lot of these EA titles because they're just random generic sports games, such as EA Sports Double Header. Jungle Strike, I've got this on the Super Nintendo. Yeah, decent game, Jungle Strike. Quite good fun. One that I played a lot as a kid with my brother, NHLPA Hockey. We used to play this just to try and get into fights, so we loved that you could play a sports game and you could start brawling. So yeah, NHLPA Hockey 93. Powermonger. PGA Tour Golf. And then we get into one of my favourite series on the system, Road Rash. Got a lot of memories of this as a child, again, playing this with my brother. So that was the original Road Rash, which I had as a kid. Then we moved on to Road Rash 2, which I also think at some point featured during my childhood. And then Road Rash 3, which I don't think I had as a child. Just a fantastic series of games. I'd love to see these rebooted. I'd love to see somebody make a good job at either giving us like a newer version of this or just creating something similar. People have tried over the years, but not to much success. I'd love to see a top game developer bring back a series similar to Road Rash. Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Another childhood favourite, Theme Park. I think I played this on the PC as a kid. James Pond 3. And B.O.B. And that is the last of the Electronic Arts Spines games. As I say, apart from the Road Rash series, nothing too special there. And now it's time to take a look at everybody's favourite Mega Drive box art, the fabled Blue Spine Mega Drive games. I wish that all Mega Drive games were blue like this. I wish they all had that uniformity. I think they would look so good on the shelf. There's just something special about this tone of blue, right? But this is one that I picked up recently at Old School Gaming. So this is Pac Panic. Speaking of great video game shops, I picked this one up from Vintage Gamer many years ago now. This has become quite an expensive game. Wolverine Adamantium Rage, is it? Adamantium? It's a word I always struggle with. I'm not a comic book guy. But yeah, that's one of them ones, as I said, it's gone up in price. I didn't think the game was great. Maybe it's been the source material as to why it's so expensive. Toy Story, another one I had as a kid. A lot of memories attached to this one. Story of Thor. This is one that I actually picked up in a fantastic bundle. One of the best Facebook Marketplace deals I ever came across. Somebody was selling about 10 Mega Drive games for something like £30. There is a bit more of a story attached to that bundle, which we'll get to later on when we get to one of the more expensive titles. But yeah, I was really happy to I've got Story of Thor that way because, as I say, this is an RPG. I've put a little bit of time into it, but not enough. It's one I'm going to revisit, but this is definitely another one that's going upwards in value. Taz Escape from Mars. Spot Goes to Hollywood, a recent addition, again from Old School Gaming. I played a lot on the original Spot when I was younger. Never played this one. This one plays a little bit differently. This is like in more of an isometric view as opposed to a standard sort of 2D left to right side scrolling platformer like the first one is. So yeah, looking forward to testing this one out. Rystar, an absolute classic platformer, right? Yeah, really happy to have added this to my collection late last year. Sonic 3. One that seems to be climbing in price, which is strange because surely that sold a lot of copies. Very cheap game, Eternal Champions. And one that I've got to give a shout out to a viewer of the channel that hooked me up with the cartridge for this. I actually bought Boogerman separately. I bought this case and manual only, which is somewhat of a rarity for Mega Drive games, certainly compared to Super Nintendo cardboard. And I was able to get the cartridge from, as I say, a viewer of the channel that met outside Birmingham Retro Gaming Market. So massive shout out to him. And yeah, this is one that I'm looking forward to playing. Just what could be more 90s than a platformer on the Mega Drive based on toilet humour. Comic Zone, one of my first ever CEX lotteries before I had YouTube. Yeah, a good game but very difficult. I struggled to get very far in this one. Earthworm Jim, absolute classic. A very successful CX lottery here. Donald in Maui Mallard. This is mint. I mean, I'm not one for using the M word, but this is about as mint as it gets when it comes to Mega Drive games. A strange game, really. So it's Donald Duck playing as Maui Mallard, but there's also an additional character. So it's like an inception of 90s platforming video games, this one. Another one that is high on my backlog. I'm hopefully going to be playing this year. Our Real Monsters. I'm a Nickelodeon kid, right? I was brought up on Nickelodeon. I'm a huge Rugrats fan. Hey Arnold, and I remember Saturday mornings at my grandma's house watching Real Monsters as well as all the other Nickelodeon shows. So yeah, this is just one that I felt like I had to have in my collection. I haven't yet played it. Miss Pac-Man, what can I say? It's a classic. Mortal Kombat 3. I was always a Street Fighter guy, but you know, I can appreciate Mortal Kombat. Mighty Max. Now, I think this was based on the cartoon. I don't remember the cartoon. I remember the toys. I had like the Skull Island Mighty Max toy. So yeah, again, it's just that 90s nostalgia, right, that sort of really led to me wanting to add this to my collection. Mickey Mania. The Lion King. Absolute nails, this game. And the final Blue Spine Mega Drive game, bit of an anticlimactic one, Kawasaki Superbikes. Okay, and we're going to kick off the standard Black Spine Mega Drive games with a bang. So we've got Hyperstone Heist. This is the other game that came from that bundle with Story of Thor. Now basically what happened was I was driving to this address. It was like 30-40 minutes away from a £30 a fantastic deal. Had that dreaded text alert that you get, or the alert you get through Facebook Messenger. I thought, oh, here we go. I drove halfway there, and then he was like, oh mate, I can't find Hyperstone Heist. I know what had happened, right? Someone had messaged to say Hyperstone Heist is worth a lot of money, blah blah blah. So I said, well, it's in the pictures, so I mean you can't find it. Oh, I can't find the cartridge, so I won't be able to sell it to you. I said, well, I'll just have the case. And there was a little bit of reluctance, and ultimately I kind of like fronted it out and put him on the spot where he didn't really have a choice. So I bought this, and then I later added the cart to it, and it was still a fantastic deal with Story of Thor as well. It was just amusing to me the way he tried to like get out of it, but at the same time, kind of put himself in a position where he was admitting to owning the box, and yeah, he couldn't really get himself out of that one, so that worked out somewhat okay. So yeah, Hyperstone Heist. Wiz and Liz, a game that I bought recently that I'm hoping to play soon. One that I bought very recently, as in a couple of days ago. Shout out to Kev if you're watching for the recommendation on Mercs. Shinobi 3, I love this franchise. I think they're all here. These two are both here. Look, the second one is somewhere. Yeah, I had Shinobi and I had the second one, which we'll get to at some point, as a child. I never had Shinobi 3. This has become a very valuable game. I absolutely love this franchise. One of my favourite franchises on the Mega Drive. Splatterhouse 2, great artwork. I mean, look at that. Box art don't get much better than that, right? And as a game, really enjoyable in terms of like how macabre it is, the enemies, again, the art style. I don't think it plays that well, for being honest. I think it's a little bit overhyped. It's not the best beat 'em up out there, especially when you think about the price it now commands, but definitely one I'm happy to have in my collection. Again, just look at that artwork. Flashback. This is Wonder Boy 3. I don't have all of the Wonder Boys. I'd like to get them all in my collection at some point. I sort of have vivid memories of sort of playing this somewhere, like in Spain as a kid, right? Maybe on some like strange arcade-like cab, you know, the ones you used to sit down at that had games on there that had no business being on there. But yeah, one that I'm going to be playing at some point. Toki, another one I played as a kid. I think I must have owned it, but it's difficult to remember what games I owned as a child because I was that generation that rented Blockbuster games, right? So it might have just been a rental weekend, but I definitely played Toki along the way some point. And the game that made me fall in love with shmups. I'm a huge fan of shmups these days, shooters, whatever you want to call them. I call them shmups, get over it. This is the game that birthed a shmup player in me. I absolutely fell in love with this game. I've played through this hundreds and hundreds of times to try and complete it. Eventually I completed it. I knew every inch of this game. I had to study this and everything about this. I even own this on vinyl because I love the soundtrack that much. If you haven't played Thunder Force 4, do so. You can actually get it on Nintendo Switch very cheap. Thunder Force 2. This starts off a little bit different. It doesn't start off like a traditional shmup, and I never quite got past that, but one day I need to put a bit of time into it to get past that first level so I can sort of experience this. Thunder Force 3, coincidentally, there is what's classed as a PAL release, although it's actually a Genesis case and manual. It's a strange one, I don't own it, but hopefully I'll add to it one day. 2 wrestling games here, Super WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. This was my sort of generation as a child enjoying these wrestlers. I was a big Bret the Hitman Hart fan, but also of course Hulk Hogan back in that era. Quite a new addition in terms of my shmup collection. I'm trying to go for all the 16-bit shmups across the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive. Truxton is one that I'm yet to play, but it's high on the list. Speaking of which, a very recent addition, Fire Shark. Fatal Fury. California Games. This is one of many games that you'll see on here that I picked up for £1 at a toy fair. I think it was the NEC Toy Fair a couple of years ago. Someone was selling Mega Drive games for £1. This was one of them. Another shmup, Biohazard Battle. A recent addition, Super Fantasy Zone. I picked this up from a toy fair as well, incidentally, although sadly this one wasn't £1. The artwork on this looks fantastic. This is very high on my list of games to play. Wrestle War. Oh man, the nostalgia. Very quickly, I bought Echo the Dolphin as a child, brand new. Games were expensive back then and you used to have to wait until Christmas or your birthday. And what you did when you didn't like a game, which I don't think most people did with Echo the Dolphin, right? It didn't quite live up to the hype. You advertised it in your local paper. I advertised it for sale or swap in my local paper. And a guy knocked on the door one day and he looked like John Coffey from the Green Mile and he said, I want to swap this for Echo. I just said, okay. Took this, that was probably worth next to nothing at the time, gave him a brand new copy of Echo, but I'll stand by it to this day that this is a better game than Echo the Dolphin. So yeah, a funny story attached to Wrestle War. Two Tribes, which is the popular sequel. This one I got from Big Game Al. Shout out to Big Game Al. Micro Machines Military, the most expensive of the Micro Machines titles on the system. And then we've got Mega Games 1, Mega Games 2, which, look at that for a compilation of games, right? Absolute classics. If you're trying to collect on a budget, definitely pick up the Mega Games. And Mega Games 3. Okay, next pile, we've got Super Hang-On. Another one of the £1 games that I found at the Toy Fair, NBA All-Star Challenge. 888 Attack Sub. Again, I think this was one of them £1 games. Another one of the £1 games. They'll still be together somehow. Arch Rivals. Super Thunderblade. And then a game I spent a lot of time playing as a young lad. Premier Manager. And if this is what I remember it to be, I'm sure you could buy Miguel Nadal, which coincidentally was Rafael Nadal's uncle, who played for Barcelona. He was on a free transfer. I remember that so vividly. We used to try and get Miguel Nadal on every time I started a game. I think Dennis Bergkamp was the best player on this game as well from memory during his early time at Arsenal. But yeah, a lot of fun with Premier Manager back in the day. Hard Driving. I think that was one of the £1 ones as well. Gods. I own this on the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. Shout out to Eddie over at Rollercore. Bought this off him at a recent Birmingham video game market. Haven't had a chance to play it yet. Talmit's Adventure. Winter Olympics and Psycho Pinball. Mortal Kombat 2, probably the best of the Mortal Kombat games, right? And here's the second in the Shinobi series, Shadow Dancer. This is the one I have the most nostalgia for. I had this as a kid. I used to be blown away by the fact that you had a dog and you could sort of set your dog on people. Me and my brother absolutely loved that. Spent a lot of time playing this as a child. As I say, that was back in the day when you only had games at Christmas and your birthday, and if you bought a game, you had to play it, and we played this, even though I probably never got very far on it. Rocket Knight Adventures, another recent addition. I'm just really happy to be adding this to my collection. Global Gladiators. This isn't the Madonna's game I've got the most nostalgia for. There was one on the NES that I remember playing as a child, but yeah, Global Gladiators. Sonic Spinball. The only mint game I think I've ever bought from CEX. I bought this to do a comparison between this and a standard copy, and it was night and day. This is very much as close as you'll get to mint, this copy of the Flintstones. Space Harrier 2. The Terminator. Tailspin, which I'm not sure if this doesn't play like the Game Boy one. I think the Game Boy one is more of actually like a shmup. It's a shame this isn't done the same way, but with Mega Drive graphics, to be honest. But yeah, Tailspin. T2. And the game I'm currently playing and trying to play through, Twin Hawk. I keep getting stuck on level 7 of 8, but yeah, very fun shmup this one. I'm really enjoying my time with it. Hopefully, I'll get it completed real soon. Micro Machines 2. Classic games, Micro Machines. Moonwalker, another one that I had as a child, and yeah, we were just obsessed with the fact that you could make everybody dance on the screen. Even like the dogs, the enemies that were dogs would start dancing, and yeah, I'm not sure it's held up too well. I'm not sure this game will ever get a remake. You know, being Michael Jackson searching closets for little kids that say Michael. I'm not sure they're going to be revisiting that one, but yeah, nice game to have. Another Stone Cold classic, Golden Axe 2. And then we've got a very heavy hitter here, Castlevania The New Generation. This was a recent CEX lottery, and as you can see, it was definitely a win on the CEX lottery. A game that I'd previously owned and sold, and it was sort of like a big regret of mine. Very happy to be adding this back to my Mega Drive collection. Another Micro Machines game here. I don't think I've ever played this one, Turbo Tournament 96. I don't know how this differentiates from the others. I'll have to find out soon. Lemmings. The Last Battle, which I think was a bit of a Strider clone, right? Apparently it's not very good. It's very cheap, so it doesn't speak volumes about it. Clax, another one that I've got memories of as a child. This is a game that I was trying to find for ages. You know those games that you can just remember the gameplay, but you've got no recollection of the name of it? I just remember those bricks falling down the screen, and this is pure nostalgia for me. And then the day it kind of clicked and I saw it somewhere and I learnt the name, I bought it immediately. And yeah, I still haven't played it yet, but I know that's going to be nostalgia overload when I pop it in. Speaking of Strider, here it is. I still need the second Strider. That's one that's going up in price, so hopefully I'll pick that one up soon. Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition. Guys, personally I think Street Fighter 2 is better on the Super Nintendo. I don't own a 6-button pad either, so the last thing you want to be doing is pressing the select button and doing all that. It's almost impossible to play without a specialised controller, this one, but a nice addition to the collection. Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2, what can I say about these? Absolute classics. I thought I was going to be able to add the third one. If you've watched my recent vlog, you'll know, but the hunt goes on for a decent priced copy of Streets of Rage 3. Even though I know it's not the best, it's probably the worst of the three, right? It'd just be nice to complete the trilogy on such a classic series. Indiana Jones, another recent addition. Continuing with my theme of shmups, we've got Hellfire. This one seems to keep going up in value. Came highly recommended by Dylan, I believe, over at Hyper Trigger X. And a game, a shmup that I have put quite a bit of time into, Gynoog, but I still haven't got anywhere on it. Gynoog, still don't know how to pronounce it. Very good game, very macabre, very different for a shmup. It's just one of them ones that's solid. The levels are so long, it's very unforgiving, but it's fun. It's a very fun game. Aladdin. Alex Kidd. Altered Beast. Alien Storm. Asterix. Again, another one that I have fond memories of as a child playing this one. Batman Returns. The dreaded Echo the Dolphin. What Mega Drive collection would be complete without a Sonic? And of course, Sonic 2. Not a massive Sonic fan, I'll be honest. I prefer my platformers to be more methodical. I like to do things at my own pace, so the pace of games like Sonic was never for me, although I did enjoy it as a child. This I bought for pure nostalgia. I loved the cartoon. It's probably not aged that well, even though the message is probably more relevant than ever. Captain Planet, I'm not going to go any further because I'll end up breaking out into the theme song for this one. Absolute Stone Cold classic, Castle of Illusion. This next one doesn't have a manual. This was from Sega Zombie, and inside here is a very nice note from Mr. Zombie himself. And to be honest, that means more to me than the manual. Obviously, I'd like to have both, but inside here, where the manual should be, is a nice note from Scott, Sega Zombie. Speaking of Sega Zombie, his new shop, the Retro Realm 2.0, is opening very soon. Go and support him. Check his out on Facebook, and you'll get all the information there for where that's based. Chuck Rock, fun game. Chuck Rock 2, I'd say not as fun. And the baby, the sound effects, the crying, it's very frustrating. Another of the 16-bit shmups that I haven't got around to playing yet is Zero Wing. Pugsy. Now, a game that I wanted for so long. It's sun-faded, it doesn't have a manual, I don't care, it's gone ridiculously high in price. Felios. I played through this, was it early this year? I think it was the start of this year, finished it, loved it. I love mythology, I love shooters, you put them both together, I mean, what more could you ask for, right? To play as Artemis on the back of a Pegasus and you can shoot fire at your sword. I mean, it sells itself as far as I'm concerned. A really fun game and one of very few games that I'll be revisiting. Pele, R.I.P. the legend. Never actually played this one. And finally, we're actually ending on a bit of a high note. Outrun. This is one of the first games I wanted to pick up on the Mega Drive. Another one that's quite high in value. I think it's probably a lot easier to get on the Master System, the original Outrun. But yeah, such a fun game, absolutely iconic, and very happy to own it. Retro Ghetto. Okay, so that's all 112 Mega Drive games I've currently got in my collection. I'm quite proud of this collection. There's a lot of games that I'm really happy to own, and as I say, quite a few on that immediate backlog that hopefully I'm going to get to play in 2023. Before we get into the sums and the values of which CX will give me for all of these, it's important to say that there are, I think, 21 games that they wouldn't accept for whatever reason. CEX are somewhat picky when it comes to the sports titles. There was, however, a few games that I'm quite surprised that aren't on their system. There was Power Monger, Super Hang-On, Mega Games 1, 2 and 3. For some reason, they only take Mega Games 6, but that's the weird world of CEX, right? Also, Thunderblade, Talmit's Adventure, and as I say, the rest are mostly sort of generic sports titles that they wouldn't take. But it is worth remembering when we go through these values that approximately 20% of the games that I own and you've already seen aren't going to be able to be included in this list. And one last thing before we get to the numbers, there's a couple of titles that I want to point out for different reasons. The first one being Rystar. I think it was at the start of this year or the back end of last year, I did the CX lottery on Rystar and it cost me approximately £50. I was umming and ahhing about whether I should keep it or not because it didn't come with a manual. Ultimately, I decided that I would keep it because I thought it was good value for money as it was selling for slightly more on eBay. That decision to keep it has proved to be the fruitful one because they're actually giving £52 in vouchers alone now, which is roughly what I paid for it. And they're actually charging £75 for a copy of this game now. Of course, there's no guarantee of a manual. In fact, I'd be pretty confident that the ones in stock don't have a manual at this point. So yeah, definitely thankful that I kept a hold of that copy. And some of the more expensive ones of note within my collection would be Shinobi 3. I could get £77 trading for that one. They actually charge £110 for the third one in the series. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist, where they're offering £63 trade-in and selling it for £90, which to be honest, I thought that was a little bit low, but I think my brain's kind of skewed by how much they charge for the Super Nintendo version of that game, which is considerably more than its Mega Drive counterpart. Splatterhouse 2 is another one that's gone up in value since I purchased it. They're giving £45 trade-in and charging £65 for this one. And finally, the most expensive Mega Drive game within my collection is Castlevania The New Generation. I recently had a massive CEX win on the lottery that we played with this one. They're giving £112 voucher or they're charging £150 cash for this one. Right, okay, let's get into the totals then, shall we? And I just want to say before I go into these three total figures that once again there are 21 games that I couldn't put into the system as CEX don't want anything to do with them. In terms of cash, CEX will offer me £1,165.50. The all-important voucher figure, £1,607, so almost £500 more than the cash that they would offer me for the collection. And finally, what CEX would sell these for. Now, it's worth remembering, this figure is how much it would cost you to buy all of these in store. With CEX's new delivery costs, it would cost you an additional £300 for this figure. CEX would charge you £2,432 for my entire Mega Drive collection. Whilst, of course, I'm not shocked that the number is significantly higher than the other numbers that we've already looked at, what I am shocked by is that that's more than double the cash price. I thought it'd be somewhere within the region of maybe 40-45% more. I certainly didn't think we'd be embarking closer to 55-60% in terms of what they offer you cash to what they then sell for in stores. But hey, I guess maybe I was a bit naive on that one. What I would like to say at this point is I love the Mega Drive. I love it so much that even if they doubled that cash amount, I would flat out refuse it. I enjoy collecting for this system so much, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed taking a deep dive into my collection. What I want to know from you guys in the comment section is, are there any games that I'm missing? Were you sitting there thinking, where's such and such title? Let me know, because as I say, I'm definitely keen to add to my Mega Drive collection. Any gems that are out there that I've missed along the way, let me know in the comment section. As always, play your games, keep it retro. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.
You're watching the Retro Ghetto.
Ghetto.
Ghetto!
Yeah.
Lock into the retro ghetto.